So our first guest is no stranger to the literary or the just the book industry in general. She has been for decades a mover and a shaker in the literary world, and she is the founder and the brainchild behind the African American Literary Children's Book Fair in Philadelphia every year. That is an amazing event. So we wanted to welcome Vanesse Lloyd-Sgambati to the show. And I want to make sure I do her camera. I'm trying to, so she can come on camera. There she is. Because we tested it out earlier to make sure she was on. So Vanesse, she and I have talked. She's one of those people I've been talking to for years and years and years and never met, not even virtually. So this is my first time meeting her virtually, but she is no stranger to me or to just the literary world. So Vanesse, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Well, thank you for having me, Gwen. And we have only spoken on the phone and had some insightful conversations, but you're a legend in the industry because what you've been producing in Houston is by far one of the best. Well, I'm going to say mine's is the best. Let's put it this way. Mine's is the best in the Northeast and yours is the best in the Southwest. You know,
that's a good compromise.
Okay, we'll take that. Compromise. But I've never been to your event. I have always wanted to come. And one of these years, in the next 3 years, I am going to come. So
well, we're hoping we'll be waiting for you because one of the things that I created 32 years ago was an event that was national, and it was designed to bring people from around the world to see the best and the brightest from the African American literary community. You know, when I started this journey, I used to hear Black people don't buy hardcover books for their children, or Black people don't read to their children. And I was like, this is absurd. This is not founded on anything that fits into my world and the world that I live in. And I dispel that notion over and over again. And people come to the book fair and they walk out and they're scratching their head because people are walking alongside of them with armloads of books that they purchased, not been given books free, but they've actually purchased. So I'm happy to continue this journey, 32 years, and still going strong.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. We both said it together because our event we're celebrating year 17 next year. And that, I know what it takes to keep an event going year after year after year. And 30, we won't get, I'm going to say this out right now. We won't get to 30 something because I'm not taking it that far, but kudos to you.
Then the organization continues.
The organization can keep it going. You get somebody else to do it.
You just get somebody else.
I tell people no one else would work for free like this.
No. You just never know. But I will say I'm the baby of the bunch because my event is only 8 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot. And then as you get older, it starts to take a toll, just
it does. It's tiring. People don't realize how much you have to put into an event.
It's exhausting. And our event is 2.5 days. So that's a lot of time. But I think Vanesse, your event is a Saturday and it's like Saturday afternoon. Well, it's all day on the Saturday because you have some preliminary activities before the actual book fair starts. But what gave you the idea to start this event?
Well, I wear many hats in the world of publishing, and my journey to host a mega children's event started with an event out of, let's say there was a need. There was a lot of singing and dancing going on during Black History Month here in Philadelphia, but I noticed there was nothing dedicated to children's books. And I had formerly worked at a television station, and the public affairs person at a major department store asked me if I could produce a Black History event in this. It's an iconic department store. It was called Wanamaker's and had 9 floors.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of producing a Black event in a place like that was like, I got this. We're gonna make it happen. And I made a call to Marie Brown, who's a literary agent, who's also from Philadelphia. I said, I need some authors. She said, no problem. She invited Tom Fillings, Jacqueline Woodson, Tanya Bolden, Evie Lewis, and Bessie Nichols, who at that time was about 84 years old.
Wow.
And it was a cold, frosty morning. And I thought, well, 50 people will show up. Well, 250 people showed up. And they all said the same thing as they were walking out the door, buying armfuls of books. When are you going to do this again? And that was the beginning of the African American Children's Book Fair. And of those authors and the illustrator, the 2 illustrators, Evie Lewis, Tanya Bolden, and Jacqueline Woodson are still being published 32 years later. Bessie Nichols, obviously at 80 years old, she's since going on. And Tom Fillings also passed away about, I think, a decade ago. But they all produce exceptional books. And all of their books that they published, their first books, are still in print. And so I knew that it was important to continue this legacy, this journey of presenting African American authors. One of the things that we do that's exceptional is that we have corporate partners who participate in the event, but our corporate partners, if they want to be there, they've got to also give away something of literary value. So they'll buy maybe 50, 100 copies of a particular title of one of our guest presenters. And in addition to all their little things they're giving away at their booth, they'll also give those books to educators. So an educator can walk out of this event with 6 to 7 hardcover books of the guest authors and illustrators. And we have promotional giveaways. And it's just a fun afternoon. When you said 2 days, I was breaking out in a cold sweat over here because that's a lot of time.
It's a lot. 2.5. So it starts on the Thursday night. It's all day Friday, all day Saturday.
But you have a lot of panels, correct?
I have a lot of
There are panels, author discussions.
We do. But we have over 100 authors that come as exhibitors and sell their books. So we have that.
We have one vendor. Many of you who work in the book business may know Nati for Africa World Book. And I partner with him to produce this event. The reason why we don't have outside vendors is because I don't have the resources to vet everybody who's participating in the event. I mean, someday we may get there, but you know yourself that when you have outside people coming in to vend, their expectations. Their expectations that they're going to sell, they're going to make money. And we sell a lot of books. We probably sell more books in 4 hours than any other African American retailer in the country, because we get all the school teachers, the daycare centers, and they have baby coaches filled with books. But it's because it's the only game in town from the perspective is that we've got the best and the brightest, and it's held once a year. Now, if we did that every week, who knows what the outcome would be. But it is important to note that in Philadelphia, when I started this journey, we had 12 Black bookstores in the city. 12 Black bookstores. And today we have 3 bookstores. Hakeem's is still in business. I believe they just celebrated their 50th anniversary. And there are 2 other Black bookstores. But there is Harriet's and Uncle Bobby's, but there is a hunger for children's books in the city. And kids, we have a campaign here, Preserve a Legacy, Buy a Book, because you can't talk about how much you love Black books and you love Black history and you haven't bought a book. You can't talk about banned books and you haven't bought a book. And it's important to remind people that you can continue the legacy. You can continue to have great Black books if you buy them.
Right.
And so many options out there. At the book fair in February, there will be debuting their books for the first time, 8 authors and illustrators from major publishers. And we have some of when I tell you, people who are on all the bestsellers lists, people who are on the best of lists, the New York Times, in fact, the New York Times Book Review listed 5 Black picture books. And of the 5, 4 of those books will be featured at the book fair. And it takes a lot of work, as you know, Gwen, because you have 100 people. That's no joke.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not.
To produce. I applaud both of you for the work that you do, and also the sisterhood that we have in supporting each other. And just like you have me on this show today, obviously when your event comes up, I'll be publicizing that, possibly have you on my radio show to talk up the event, because people do know how to get on a plane to go to other cities. Okay, they do know how to do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have people from we have people from normally 30 states that come.
Oh, I can imagine, because there is a hunger for well-organized events. See, people keep coming back to these events because people pop up and do an event and they wonder why the people didn't show up. You got to be organized. You have to have everything that's tight. You know, from the time you walk in the door to the time you walk out that door, it has to be organized. Nothing can be messy.
Right. I agree with you on that. But also a lot of people will try to do events. They'll come to, I'm sure they'll come to your event too, but they'll come to our event, think that, okay, I can do better, or I can do this or whatever. And they'll try it once or maybe twice, but that's it, because it is a lot of work. And it takes a lot of promotion, like you were saying. You have to have just a group. You have to have your sort of your arms and your legs like an octopus in some different areas where you're reaching people in the industry at all levels. And so, for example, on this show, I don't know if you saw the video that we played, but we have people on the show that aren't like you. And I don't know if you're an author or not, but we have authors, but we also have book event coordinators. We have bookstore owners. We have book club facilitators. We have literary agents. We have publishers. So we have a variety of people. In fact, we've had Harriet's Bookshop, the young lady that owns that, and Hakeem's bookstore. That's the one that just got a marker or some kind of.
They're the oldest. Marcus Books is the oldest. Actually, there's a bookstore. I saw something on Troy from AALBC, Troy Johnson, that there was a bookstore that was somewhere in Mississippi. But like many bookstores, it was a bookstore and something else was going on besides being an independent freestanding bookstore. But Marcus Books was one of the first, and Blanche out in Oakland. They used to have a store in San Francisco. But I wanted to say about the promotion. I worked in TV. I was a fashion journalist in Italy. I worked in television, the NBC and the CBS affiliate here in Philadelphia. I've even worked on the Oprah Winfrey Show briefly. But I come from a journalism background, and I also have a radio segment here in Philadelphia. So I have relationships with people. At our event, we have our media partner is the local NBC affiliate. We have 4 broadcasting on site, 4 radio stations. That draws people in. PSAs. We have interviews. And I don't just do interviews in the Philadelphia area. I have relationships with people in Chicago, all down the Eastern Coast, in Atlanta. So we're on the radio. The authors and illustrators come because I'm also giving them something they can't get other place, and that's the media. And one of the things that I love about the event is they say to me all the time, for all the authors and illustrators, it's like a family affair. a family gathering for them to get together in Black History Month to see each other, because outside of industry events, it's rare to get both an author and illustrator in the same space. And also people, last year I had all the Coretta Scott King winners that had won for writing. The woman who won the Newbery, Mina Lupin Dawson, I told her in October, you're going to win a big award. I didn't know she was going to win the Newbery. I knew she was going to win the Coretta Scott King. And they embrace the event because they want to, a lot of times they don't go to events where there are substantial a Black audience. So they welcome attending these types of events. And it does help the location, because the highest concentration of Black children's authors is in Charlotte and North Carolina. The Carolinas, both South and North Carolina. It used to be New York. So they're a hop, skip, and a jump to get up to Philly. There's a direct flight that comes into the city. Because as you know, publishers don't pay for these people to go to these events, at least not the Black ones, okay?
Right, that's true. And I think we had a conversation about that a few years back, about that, how the gatekeepers really don't, they don't want, they won't even consider in a lot of cases a Black event for the top authors. And to get them at your event, you have to go around the gatekeepers and contact them directly.
Absolutely. You have to contact people directly, but they have expectations too. They expect sales. And if you go to the other side, and they tell me this all the time, they'll go to an event and they have people that's walking by and say, hey, that's really nice, but they don't buy books. Are selling the books. Not only are we selling the books, we're promoting them outside of the event, saying, because when you send out a flyer or you send out a blast social media, because your event is well known, you're giving them publicity even if people don't come, because they see that information. So that's added value to do these events, because the social media, traditional media, and word of mouth is what's going to sell those books.
Yes, that's the truth. Word of mouth sells books. Now we have about 8 minutes left, and I wanted to, one thing that really impressed me, well, there were several things that really impressed me about what you sent in, but the number of countries you've been to, I was just blown away by your world travels. You're really a globetrotter.
I'm more than a globetrotter. I'm like a hustling. I just came back from a month in Europe, and I went to the Black British book fair that was held in London, and I went to a couple other places in England, because there's a demand for Black children's books. And with all the crazy things happening in this country where people are talking about they don't want to produce certain types of books, I'm looking for other venues and avenues for our books. And I met some interesting people, I met some insightful people, and I saw a lot of opportunities for Black children's authors to sell their books in bookstores, especially in England. In France, they have a lot of Black communities, and a few authors have had their books translated into French. Kelly Starling Lyons had her book translated into France, and I connected her with a friend of mine, and she connected her with, there's a library in Paris, and they're thinking about doing a whole sabbatical for her next year. So I'm looking for always opportunities for Black children's book, but I do travel, and I travel heavy. When I say heavy, I have
it looks like 50 countries. I didn't count them, but at least 50.
Hey, I lived in Italy for 12 years, and I worked as a fashion journalist. So I know how to get on a plane and go hop, hop, hop. But I don't travel light. I have like 2 50-pound suitcases and 3 carry-ons. So nobody in their right mind would get on a plane unless they wanted to take one of my bags and count it as their own. But I love traveling. I love meeting people. I speak fluent Italian and a little French. So it's always a great opportunity to engage and meet people and tell our stories, because it's important for people to know that what you see on TV is not the end of our lives and experiences as African Americans in this country.
It definitely is not.
Absolutely.
It's very um it's just so narrow. It's very narrowly focused. And that's why I've said on the show, I don't want to see any more shows where Black people are drug dealers. That's not all we can do. I mean, and we're not the biggest purveyors in the drug business.
Well,
We're
the
little fish in a big
unfortunate
fish
thing,
in an
the,
ocean.
the unfortunate thing is that's what the people like to see, the negative. When
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about it, last year or earlier this year, there was a movie that came out about a Black violinist, barely got any publicity. Nobody's talking about it, but yet that was something positive. But then when we start to talk about the gangster movies or the movies that supposedly put us in a bad light, those are the ones that are getting all of the publicity. Right now, people are talking about Black Kate, but people are talking about how much they didn't like the story. They're not talking about it in a positive way. So we can complain about there not being enough positive images of us, but until we as a people start to actually promote and support the positive, we're going to get what we get. And
that's why the work you do and the work Gwen is so important, because the children's books that are out, especially the people who are going to be at my book fair, this is the best season of books that I have ever seen. But I just wanted to add that the book fair is just one of the activities of the nonprofit I founded 32 years ago called the African American Children's Book Project. And we do a lot of advocacy work. We do workshops, we do book signings, we do in-school virtual children's events, and we're banging the drum constantly to remind people how being able to read is going to determine how well you, especially reading outside your normal coursework, will enable those children to live, their quality of life will improve. And in Philadelphia, when we have a lot of problems with young kids committing violent crimes, and most of those kids weren't born to commit crimes, but they probably fell off the grid. They got in school, maybe they couldn't read on grade level, and they just sort of got out there. And so it's important to capture these kids, get them reading. And reading is anything that appeals to the child, because we focus in access, being able to get the books, and choice. Because what you like to read and what I like to read is different. So you got to find out what they really like to read. And we've had great success. In fact, our book fair, adults who attended as children are now bringing their children, and they credit our program with keeping their kids to read. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to be on this show. I said to someone the other day, I said, I need to go to Houston again. Last time I was in Houston, Tavis Smalley is a former client of mine, and we did a State of the Black Union event in Houston, and I haven't been back since. And I'm looking forward to your event is in the spring, and I'm looking forward to being able to get on a plane and go down there.
Well, our event is always in October.
Okay.
So we just had it.
You got to change it to the spring, because I go to Europe in October.
You do? Well,
but you go to London for Black History Month.
Are you for the whole month? Are you going for the whole month of October?
You know what? I probably will go later this year. Don't tell nobody, because I got security systems up in my house reminding them of that.
You're the one on the internet telling people you're going to be going.
Look, I live in. I put it this way: people say that I'm the queen of my block, and I promote that if I'm going away, everybody knows on the block, look out for my house, the security, the cops, and everybody else. But the thing is, I think I'll go later this year, because I wanted to go Notre Dame. I have a lot of anchors in the journalism world, and I'm supposed to do some coverage for that. But I do encourage each and every one of you who, like the two of you, it's amazing that what you're doing, and it's important to continue it, because if we don't tell our stories, they aren't going to get told. That's the
Absolutely.
Or they'll
thing
be
that
told
you're doing.
incorrectly.
Or they'll be told
Correct.
incorrectly, or they tell the same old story over and over
Right.
again.
Over and over and
There's
over and over.
nothing wrong with telling, for example, Equa Holmes has a new book coming out about Coretta Scott King. That book is bad. I just got this book today called, this is the Blad. It's
Okay.
called Miles of Style, and it's about Eunice Johnson and her fashion fair journey. And I knew Miss Johnson. She used to come to Europe, and they would roll out the carpet for her. She was the queen. She was the, before there was the queen bee, there was Eunice Johnson with her Ebony Fashion Fair. And these are stories our kids need to know. And there's another one about the guy, the gentleman who was a freedman, but he helped and cultivated what we know as ice cream today. He was, you know the story about Dolly Madison creating ice cream. He taught Dolly Madison how to make that ice cream, and he's from Philadelphia. And so we're capturing all these stories about Black Americans and what they have brought to this country. We're celebrating our 250th anniversary in this country in 2026. So I'm gathering all these books and stories and putting them at the feet of these decision makers and say, you need to promote this. You need to send these authors on tour so people know our stories.
This is exactly what we need. Well, we did put your link to the African American Children's Book Project in the chat.
And what are the dates, real quick?
The date is Saturday, February the 3rd. And I'm also preparing a list, the best books of 2023. I'm going to be updating the website, and I will make the announcement of who's going to be. We got 35 people. I'm going to officially make the announcement on January the 1st. And, come on out. It's a free event. We got posters, bookmarkers, promotional giveaways. If you're a teacher, you can get a free book. And here's the other thing. The corporate NBC, the affiliate here in Philadelphia, gives away 500 brand new books of the guest participants at the door when the kids come in. So it's a lot of stuff that's happening at the book fair. And we have other exhibitors. We have someone who's doing a science exhibit. Just a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. I can handle 3 hours. Now, 5 hours, who knows what Vanesse would be doing by now.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you do. I'm only right down the street from you in the DC area, so I'm gonna have to take the train up and come see you.
Okay, definitely. When is your event?
My event is actually at the end of February. It's going to be February 22nd through the 24th. It's the Black History Month Literary Weekend. And
it's in
it's going to be in Maryland.
Okay, I've heard about that event. Well, let's connect. Definitely let's connect, because I might be able to make some recommendations of some of the authors and illustrators that are participating in my event, who might be interested in being a part, if you don't have your list already completed.
I do have my list done, but let's talk. We'll stay in touch after this call.
Okay. And you know what? We've officially started an association of Black producers of literary events. You know, we got a triangle go there. We've officially we the queen bees in it. We literary bees. Okay. So they're gonna say the thing. We're official. I put a label on it, and so people know that there's a synergy. We all have a synergy to make these things happen, but even more so to tell the stories of Black people, as you said, in the correct way.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, if people want to reach us, you can go to the African American Children's Book Project.org, or you can call me at 215-878-BOOK. And I also have an online bookshop store. If you go to the website, you can click on that. We're updating that of all the new books that are coming out, to see, to be able to purchase them during the holidays or just in general.
Wonderful.
Okay. All right. Well, Vanesse, we have our next guest right on time. And so we appreciate you very much for being on the show. I'm glad to finally meet you and much success. I'm going to make it to your event at one of these years coming up very soon.
Well, I'm gonna be down in Houston sooner than you think.
Okay. All right.
And DC too. Take care.
Okay.
You
Have a
too.
great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.